So every year, Spotify puts out what they call their Spotify Wrapped, where they give you a bunch of nerdy ass information about over the course of the current year what you listen to on Spotify, right? That's what they tell you. They tell you that in terms of minutes listened to Spotify. They tell you that in terms of which artists you listen to the most. They tell you that in terms of which song you listen to most and how long you listened to your favorite artist. That's what they tell you. So, today was the day that this happened. So today, this morning, Spotify Wrapped came out. And I just want to share with everybody what my Spotify Wrapped was. Because I think it's insane. I think it's absolutely insane. Here's the first thing. Number 1, in 2022, my total playtime on Spotify was 22,006 minutes. That is more than 74% of other listeners in the US. So I listened to more Spotify this year than 74% of people that listen to Spotify. Something to keep in mind when you're looking at that statistic, I did not use Spotify for the whole year. For a good 4 or 5 months out of the year, I used Apple Music. I only started using Spotify in May. So this doesn't even count the first 5 months of the year, how much music I listened to. So I know what you're thinking. Revels, that's a lot of fucking time listening to music. What could you have possibly been listening to for that long? Well, I'll show you. These were my top 5 artists. My top 5 artists were, number 5 was Charlie Curtis Beard, CCB. Number 4 was Lil Uzi Vert. Number 3 was Akintoye. Number 2 was Connor Price. And number 1 was Nick D. Okay? So as you can tell, my music taste is very much so influenced by TikTok. Because 4 out of those 5 artists largely grew because of TikTok. I even carved a carrot into a flute because of Connor Price. So that's what I spent the majority of my 22,000 minutes listening to. Along with something that they didn't show on my Wrapped, which I was upset about. I also listened to the Myths and Legends podcast. So that is what I also do. I'm either listening to one of those 5 artists or listening to the Myths and Legends podcast. Obviously, my number 1 artist was Nick D. Chat, it was not close. It was not close. It was a landslide. So keep in mind, before I flip it back, I listened to 22,000 minutes of Spotify over the course of 2022. 7,201 of those were spent listening to specifically Nick D. A third of the time that I was listening to Spotify, I was listening to a song by Nick D. Now, another statistic Spotify gives you is this is your top artist. You listen to them for this long. This is the percentage of listeners you are in, right? That is the statistic Spotify gives you. For the year 2022, chat, I was in the top 0.005% of Nick D listeners. That raises a specific question in your head. How many people is that? Well, I crunched the numbers. I did the math, okay? Nick D has 4.3 million monthly listeners. So I went to my old friend Google and I asked them a question. I asked Google, what is 0.005% of Nick D's exact monthly listeners? The answer, 218. I was in the top 218 people to listen to a specific artist on Spotify over the course of 2022. That is reflected in my top songs. Number 5, Cotton Candy by Nick D. Number 4, Easy by Connor Price and Nick D. Number 3, Gasoline by Nick D and Connor Price. Number 2, Costa Rica by Nick D. And number 1, Minefield by Nick D. Nick D absolutely owns. He came in and claimed my Spotify Wrapped. And it was not close. It was a landslide. Get it twisted. You will win. So I know what you're thinking. I'm in your head. How good is this man's fucking music? How good could it possibly be? I surrendered myself to him willingly. And you know what it fucking was, chat? This is how my brain works. He just made really funny TikToks. Like, look at this. Like to me, this is just good old-fashioned, just good content. This is just good. It's filmed well. It's funny. It's entertaining. I won't lie. I started listening to Nick D when he dropped Pineapple, but he's good. So I just want to give you guys a taste of what I spent a third of my year listening to. How good could it possibly be? How good could the music be? Well, the TikTok we just watched, this is the song. Okay? This is the song that went with the TikTok.
Yeah. I just been living life, feed a bankroll. Had a saying go, got it flooded to my ankles. Need a raincoat, pair of boots and a dang bow. Gotta stay talking to you, like walking through a damn mile.
Blast this shit.
Him come from a mile still. Tell me you feel how I feel. Talking to you, like walking through a damn mile.
It's just so good. It's so beautiful. Chat, I love art. I'm a bit of an artist myself, really. But here's where we have to get serious. I didn't know that Spotify was going to tell me what percentile I was in for Nick D listeners. I didn't know that. I thought it would just tell me what number 1 was. But it told me the percentile. As soon as I saw that, my inherently competitive nature kicked in. And for 2023, chat, I have one goal and one goal only. When the 2023 Spotify Wrapped comes out next December, I want to be flipping through it, looking at my top songs, my top artists, how long I listen to Spotify, and I want one piece of information. I want Spotify to tell me that I listened to Nick D more than anybody else on their platform. That is my goal for 2023.